stuff like that.
I was just right down the road from that, and a month ago, they built that new tower.
Tower, yeah, the big cell tower.
Mhm. I guess we'll eventually find it.
Yes, we want everybody. All of a sudden you have gas.
I got a meter in my yard, or a box.
Yeah.
Are we live?
Yeah, put that in a couple days ago.
Oh, yeah, off of, right across from Little Rock. Well, you got it if you need it, I
That's
guess.
right. I can talk to my neighbor into getting on it.
The one across the street. But that, oh, they're not connected. No, they haven't connected. Yeah.
I don't know what they're gonna do. They had a bunch of well
We good?
problems
I think.
right after the fourth.
All right.
Oh, did somebody say that? Cause they were wondering if the other guys.
I was trying to get that off of just her, but
Oh. No.
Sorry.
Just hook on
I
to.
think it's 4:31 and Miss Glenda has us live on Zoom in the recording. And let's go ahead and start the meeting. We have Foreman here. I know that Bill texted me and said he wasn't going to be here tonight, so I chastised him greatly for missing the meetings. But anyway, so let's start as we normally do with the approval of the minutes of the June 26, 25 special call meeting. I think you have a copy of that in front of you there. So
Motion to approve.
okay, I have a motion from Michael to approve. Second, Bruce seconds. All right. Any deletions or additions? If none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, approved. Let's go ahead and look at the financial statements, and this will be the financial statements for the fiscal year ending June of 25 comparing to June 30 of 24. So looking at the trial balance report, we had cash in June of 24, $1,662,000. We're down a little from that to $1,358,933, but still very positive because we like to keep $1 million reserve there for emergencies and so forth. So that is holding up. And you look over on the second page of that report, the city infrastructure advance payable that we've been working on, that is now down to $249,834.79. So we've been able to reduce that down significantly over the last 12 months.
this month should be the last water meter.
Water meter payment. Okay, that'd be a bit better. That'd give us some additional cash flow. Yeah. All right. Looking at the sewer budget tracking report, the sewer hit all the budgeted numbers better than what we had budgeted for the year. In the revenue section, total revenues are at 866,501 against a budget of 815. And each line item. So whoever did that budget did a good job and then was able to carry it off. So Glenda, thank you there. Running down the running down the expenses there, just to highlight a few things. The maintenance and repair on the system was $140,949 compared to $85,000 budgeted. And the utilities were up slightly from what we budgeted at 128,719 against 125,000. And in spite of those overages, we still came in at total expenses $1,019,019 against a budget of $1,111,000, and that's 153,144 net loss for the period. But in my accounting brain, I added back the 282 for the depreciation, so we had a positive cash flow in the sewer of 128,856. So that was, I think, Glenda, this is the best sewer report that I had in a long time, or that I recall anyway. Looking at the water budget tracking, our revenue was down from our budget, which has been tracking that way. We were at $1,783,000. The other miscellaneous items, interest earned and so forth, including the grant revenue, pushed us over budget. But if you subtract the grant revenue of 282,216 from the total there, the actual revenues that we budgeted for comes in at $1,911,000 compared to $1,984,000. So about a $72,000 shortfall there in revenue. But I think we, in budgeting, anticipated a little higher stream of revenue than what we ended up with. So looking at the expenses, the maintenance and repairs on the system was quite significant. It was $443 compared to $250,000 budgeted. And most all the other items were slightly below or in all. And the total expenses, $1,731,000 compared to $1,767,800 budgeted. So we were actually lower in total on our budgeted maintenance and expense items by $37,000. So that kept our loss from being even. I mean, was not a loss. Don't let me say that. To kept our profit margin being what we had anticipated, but not near even with that lower revenue. So I think all in all, it was a good year for us in the water and sewer, and we accomplished quite a bit of projects and things that we were able to get done. So does anybody have any questions on the financial statements? If none, I'll go to Bobby and have him give us a project status update on the projects that we've got listed here and any other that we might have. So,
Okay. Lone Valley Road project, it is all tied in up around the whole circle that we did. All the taps on Lone Valley have been done. We have started the ones down 95 now. I think they only like maybe 3 or 4 left on 95 to be completed. And some of them's a doozy because a couple of them are going underneath Big Long Creek. Didn't realize that's what they were going to be doing, but anyway, it's working out. So that one is getting very close to being done, complete.
Okay.
And we've already had a couple more come in and put the deposit down for the meter. Some of them are already coming in to sign up.
Do you know how many you got on
On
that?
95?
On 95.
How many is that?
I've got 1, 2, 3, I think 4 right now
Okay.
that are already ready to put a meter in.
Okay.
Let's see.
What about up on top and around?
Not on Long Valley?
On Valley,
Yeah, we've got probably roughly 1, 2, 3, 4. I want to say about 5.
about 5.
Long Valley to do. But if you can get your neighbor to go, you'll have another one. Let's see,
Okay,
let's see, so that project is almost completely done. Then we just all on it is just everybody else coming in and signing it. The lagoon liner. I got a call today from the delivery company. They're gonna start delivering the parts for it, like all like pieces and stuff that we need, liners and all the other. It's supposed to be delivered. They're probably gonna be doing it next week. But the actual work of the line, of putting the liner on, probably won't happen until like 1st of April or August.
1st of August,
Sure.
okay.
There's some dry weather.
Yeah, I know it. We've got one lagoon almost completely dewatered, but we gotta dry the sludge up. And that's hopefully we can get that started the middle of next week. And then we just gotta haul it out. So that one's gonna be approaching soon too.
We're gonna contract that haul down or?
Yeah. Yeah, I got Greer coming to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where does that go?
Very
It's going to landfill.
It goes
landfill.
to the landfill.
Yeah. We truck it all the way to Mayfield,
Yeah.
pay more to get it taken care of, so it's a no brainer, really.
The next one we got is the influent lift station. We had some issues with it last week, wiring issues, so it had to run some more separate wires for the pumps, because apparently it was a lower grade wire that wasn't supposed to be used. And they've got that resolved, so the pumps are working like they're supposed to now. But we also had some gate issues of not sealing correctly. So they were working on that yesterday and today. They've got one done. We're filling it up to see if it holds. And if what they did works, there's 2 others that need it. And they'll have that done, I guess tomorrow. They'll probably work on it tomorrow if it ain't raining or whatever. But they're supposed to, as soon as they get that done, we're gonna do the little pump tests again, since they got the pumps working correctly. So that should have, hopefully that might happen tomorrow too, if they get it all taken care of. Cause I think the pump guy is supposed to be here tomorrow sometime. So hopefully that happens.
Okay.
So that means tie-in, if everything goes well, maybe we're looking at next week for tie. Which we should have had it last week, but like I said, we had those issues with the wiring and gates not sealing all that. So we're
I'm
thinking-
glad you're finding it now in the
Yeah,
The
you were
earliest
doing
stage.
clean.
clean water, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll get that taken care
So
of.
the gates got anything to do with that filter process or?
The
Okay,
gates are just holding back the water.
Okay.
That's went through the bar screen and stuff.
okay.
So,
All right.
yeah, I'd rather find it out with clean water than.
Oh, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
When's cut over?
Huh?
When's cut over?
August 27th.
Really?
I'm kidding. No, I found it
Really?
hopefully next week.
That's more what I thought you were gonna say.
Because they were trying to figure out how these gates were leaking. and stuff.
You had said something about a dumpster too. Did you?
Yeah, we need one. We need a dumpster, like 1 yard, 2 yard dumpster up there.
Yeah.
When we get that thing started.
Yeah.
What-
I'll have to get,
Need something on casting wheels.
I'll get John Denton, somebody come over and take a look at it, where it's located and
Yeah.
so forth. and so-
We just need to be able to move it. That's why, because it's behind that post, the way they had that thing set up. So the truck can't come in there and get it unless you sweep it over. That's why we need it.
They're gonna move it out.
Mm.
Wheels.
Let's see. it says, okay, and, I might as well just mention, it says, other active projects. We sent out to bid our filter media rehab
Mm.
replacement. And that's where they're going to, take out the old, clean everything, spray arms, and, give everything a good cleaning and put in all the media back, brand new. So we'll have all that fresh. They gotta do all four, do one at a time. But anyway, we'll have brand new media and clean. Everything will be like almost brand new.
Are there laterals down in there?
What are you talking about?
Down in the media, are there like that pipe with the horizontal?
There's holes.
Yeah.
That's what this guy's, and then it funnels down into
Okay.
where it goes out. Then it's got the spray arms.
Yeah.
They just spin and spray. All that's gonna be clean. We're gonna clean every one of those little drip hose and the spray arms. So everything's gonna be pretty clean.
Yeah.
And then the only other thing is our Herman Gordon. All we gotta do on it is we gotta install one more pump. We got it. We're waiting on Rick's Electric to finish up our control panel
Mm.
and finish some wiring down there. That'll be out of our hair too.
Okay,
I think that's all I can think of at the moment.
sound like you've been busy.
Yeah, I mean, it's been something every day. Hold on, I'll think of something else here in a minute.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, that's good, good. I'm glad to get some of these out of the way and then we can move on.
That's what I'm ready for everything to be done. We just go to dealing with other stuff.
Okay. All right, moving on to the remaining Cleaner Water Program grant funds. The other usage, we've talked about several places possible, on those, I think that was in the minutes, I think that had a list of,
Yeah, it's on that second page of the minutes.
Yeah.
About halfway down and third of the way down.
you had indicated to me, Bobby, that you'd had several people in one of those areas, and I was thinking it was the
It's the Little Rock and
Little Rock in Atlanta.
I've had quite a few people interested in that.
It's a busy little area back there.
Yeah.
It's a lot of people.
There's a potential for like 10 or 11 customers back there too.
And that one was 200, according to 240,000 potential, according to Chad.
We should have what, 210?
That's what I was thinking. Do you know what that number is left?
210.
Is it 210? That's what's coming to my mind.
Yeah,
That's the number it says in mine.
you talk with Chad, sometimes if you gotta run over on that, sometimes you can run over. So
Oh, yeah,
they
yeah, I know.
come in and you can
We
get,
just have to pay that.
no, sometimes you can get the extra.
Oh, okay.
So ask Chad if that's,
I will.
I don't want, it depends on the grant setup,
Right,
but over time, inflation stuff, sometimes they allow
a little bit
the
of,
cost run over. And usually it's about 20% of your grant.
I'll run that by him.
Yeah, okay.
yeah, and he'll have to do the engineering work and everything on this anyway, because none of that's been done. So as he engineers, I'd say he would get a little better handle on how much money we're gonna need
Right.
to do that project, so. I don't think that, those people that were in here, they were on,
That Woodland, London, Paris.
yeah,
Well, but really check with him and ask him if we've got a shot of getting this extra
Oh, yeah.
funded to fulfill that grant.
I'm sure I'll talk to him tomorrow.
Yeah, and if your grant doesn't allow you to do it, there may be a backup over that. That come to the pad office, didn't it?
Yeah,
Okay, it come, yeah,
Actually,
No,
I'm not,
no, that was-
I'm not sure. That came,
yeah, because it's before me.
yeah. Did that
Uh,
come through that group over to pad?
I don't know that it did, Steve. I can't remember
Okay.
exactly where it came from.
Okay.
It seemed like it was tied in some way with the county.
Okay, okay.
It was on that one website that we looked up. What was that, Glenda? What's that website that we have?
What-
That
sorry,
risk?
Yeah,
That risk, what,
Risk.
is that what it
That's
was?
where all the projects are.
Yeah, did it
Yeah.
say where that one came from? The
Oh.
one for the clean water or whatever it was? The
let
one
me,
for,
let me just say, wherever it came from, if there were other projects
still
in there,
maybe
there could,
from-
it's possibility.
oh, that's right, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
PB Clavin.
Okay, there's a possibility that maybe some of the other grants allotted to that funding didn't use all their money.
Mhm.
So there's been times that in my experience, I was able to go back and capture,
A little bit more extra.
yeah, because the incentive is to spend it.
Mhm.
We get, not send it back.
Right. Correct. Yeah. But also, I'm sure I'll.
Yeah.
That one rolled through the pad. And it was
Oh.
discussed in the county judge's office, not this judge, previous judge.
Okay. I know that
The priorities
they
for
did
the
some
county.
stuff over towards Simpsonia, didn't they,
Mhm.
out there with the new water lines? So
Yep.
if that come in, anything come in under that, see what the county may have some unused or unobligated funding that we could, I mean, if we pick it up, why would we want to pay for it? So, you know,
Right. Right. Yeah. Certainly the way to look at it when we provide.
So as it stands right now, we're getting a lot of feedback from the people on the Little Rock, Atlanta area. And then we had that one group that came in from the Woodland, London Parish Road, I think.
they didn't really have a residence established. They just owned the property, right? And wanted water to it. And then they were gonna build, and so that's, am I right on that? It's,
I think that's what I understood.
Well, that's what they said,
Yeah.
that's a. So, I hope that they can build up there at some point. I just gotta
yeah,
wait.
so, you know, it's, I think the grant itself is designed to put to a current customer, so. It's got them there on the Little Rock, and I don't know where that's at, in particular, I know generally, but say if you got people there that's got houses and won't get it, probably where we ought to get some serious thought to it.
Everybody that drives down through there used a few gallons, it would be
Oh, yeah.
it would be worthwhile. That is a busy little.
Mhm.
That's more than you think.
It's incredible.
Mhm.
We were up there doing some testing and that little road, I'm telling you, it's in and out.
It's incredible. It's not, like you said, there's not 100 houses back there, but the people are very active back there. So there's a lot of folks back there and, you know, probably a good customer base because it's, you know, it
Yeah.
seems like a younger group that are active and I think that's probably a good section to explore.
They get a fire hydrant back there too with that. They get a fire
They
hydrant.
will. I'm sure they-
That is the insurance savings for them and better protection for the firefighter. Okay.
We want to have Chad look at that and. see
Yeah,
what he
I
thinks
think
on it.
though for the money, you know, I mean. It looks like to, just based on what the information we have at the Little Rock, Atlanta, and I'm not extremely familiar with any of it, but it looks like you got customers that already got houses sitting there and they want to tie on that.
I'll see that.
That would be kind of that's where I would like to see us to go to.
Yeah, well, that,
Even if we can't get the extra money, but you know, it won't hurt to ask.
Right, exactly.
Without getting too much into where they're getting water now. There may be some things that need to be corrected to get compliance with state rules,
Mhm.
statute. So.
On the homeowner, talking about. on the-
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Who's hooked into what? Who's hooked into who, and some of that stuff just needs to be.
And you can't have a well running through there, well water that could get in our systems.
But, so, yeah, it's a standard thing as far as execution goes, but I'm saying. Having people doing things in there that, if we can correct it, helps the value of the property. It helps the flexibility of the rest of the land,
Mhm.
and gets out of some of those situations. Okay.
Okay, do we need to do a motion and second on proceeding that direction, or just word of mouth to Chad to start looking at that area and then see what he comes back with and do a final motion or whatever at the next meeting or whatever.
I don't know if it calls for a motion, but I think it's certainly the direction we need to find out about, so. Put it in the form of a motion. I would make a motion that we do get Chad involved with this and make sure that our cost estimates are solid. Find out if there's any more funding available. Just like there's some other areas up there, if we could find a few more dollars, we might could really reach out and get some other people to service there, so.
Okay. All right, have a motion from Steve. Do you have a second?
A second.
Okay, Michael second. Any other question on it, discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed by like sign, so we will begin to go in that direction with Chad. And,
Does he actually like contact property owners and ask them if they have a desire to connect as a part of this investigation, or is it just the engineering? I mean, is that something that we did on Long Valley? Is it something that I know we sent out those letters and things, but do we actually like poll the audience and see how many
Nothing I'm
folks?
aware of. I don't know.
I'm just kind of curious. I
Like
mean,
I said, it's a good question.
I don't know, I'm like the rest of them, I don't know either.
Yeah, I think Lone Valley had kind of been a project we've been
yeah.
looking at for quite a while, and then the other money came available. No, didn't we close the loop up there
Yeah.
too?
Yeah,
So,
neither.
yeah, so the hydraulics of it, every time we close the loop, we just get better
Right.
control of the pressure.
We've had folks coming, asking for water
Yeah.
before the project,
Yeah.
for years. There's been a few people on that road that have,
So that's how I like that one, I guess, yeah.
Mhm.
but I just didn't know if that was something if that would tilt the scales in any direction on the decision on which way to go. I mean, if everyone back there says, yes, we would love water, that's,
Then they
it's
vote.
not necessarily a contract that they agree to, but on the other hand, if everyone says, no, we love our wells, then then do you take that in consideration?
You just wanna have a deadline, yeah, with nobody tapping on.
So I just,
Mhm.
I don't know. And we know there's people back there, and we know,
Mhm.
like you said, you've had a couple
Yeah.
approach you already.
Mhm.
I just didn't know
Yeah.
if we officially did reach out to folks to ask them.
No, I'm not sure how.
Maybe we could, maybe we recommend that we send out a letter or something.
I mean, we
you know,
could, I
yeah.
guess, to the residents.
This is
down the
under
road.
review, now's the time to get your ducks lined.
Or maybe ask Chad first, how does?
Yeah, I'll ask him,
how
yeah,
does
that's a
he
good
get
question, I've
it
never
done?
thought to ask.
And
Yeah.
Go that route.
Yeah.
Once we finally.
Like I said, I'm sure I'll talk to him tomorrow and I'll mention all this
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, you'll talk to him about him on that, and then we wanna look in that direction and see.
Mhm.
Yeah.
No, but we got some stuff going on, which I'm sure I'll talk to him about.
Okay. Let's skip over the next topic and then at this point, just an update on the rate study with rural water. As far as next step on that is that I've got the numbers now through the full year that Glenda's got for me here, and I can get with Robert. I talked to him, and Gene and I and him are gonna get a time that we can get together and have a conference call before we kick it off. Talk about some of the issues that we talked about at the last meeting and so forth and points. And then we will get back after we've done that with everybody on where we are after he's maybe done his work and so forth. So I'll keep you posted on where we are with that that study on the rate study. Okay. The next item on the agenda, the update on the Calvert City utilities and the University of Louisville study. Gene has had some contact with the people at the University of Louisville who are wanting to do a study and to do sampling of our lagoon system and utilize the results of that to, they say, test for anything that would be infectious to human and health issues, not looking to cause a problem, is what they're saying, but I'm gonna let Gene share his feelings on that because he's been to several meetings and had several discussions, and we wanted to bring it to you guys and see whether or not we wanted to join this group.
I'm missing some of my notes here. I don't know why, but we had a meeting with Dan and me and Bobby. Along with, I can't remember, Glenda, were you in here?
It's not-
Blair was in
Blair
here.
was-
Blair was
running the thing. And we had two individuals from U of L study here. Laura Rose, and she had an intern with her, and I don't recall her number, but we had
She was
Dr.
Colette-
Smith.
Colette.
Colette, yeah.
Yeah. and
What was the
Dr.
date?
Smith.
That was Monday,
It was Monday, yeah, I believe it was. Yeah.
but this last Monday.
Um,
Time flies, we have
No,
fun.
yeah, I don't believe it was Monday.
it was Friday, wasn't
It
it?
was last
Friday.
Friday. It was last Friday. That's right. 11 o'clock last Friday.
Okay. So I felt a lot better after having that meeting. Anyway, we'll check on the details of that. Dr. Smith told us some of the reasons we were confused because there's two separate things going on. So we were communicated, there's 25 communities in Kentucky who submit wastewater sample to a surveillance network, Kentucky Wastewater Surveillance Network. And they can offer references for that, and we'll do that and answer it. They count virus particles and get data from rural communities. Measles, identification of measles is a big thing. And then Dr. Smith, right? He says proven science. That's going on. It's a routine thing, and they're counting virus particles and they're getting that. And then he says he was very good. And he said, let's draw a bright line about what else we're talking about. And the bright line is where we travel over into some unproven science that they're trying to research and trying to get better at. If you're a smoker, they know what's going to happen to your analysis. And they also know that if you're for certain toxic substances, hazardous air pollutants, absent, they have some idea what happens to humans, how we go through and metabolize different air toxics on a biological basis for humans. So basically your analysis. So they're working on something on this where they're looking at populations by testing wastewater. And so he says there's maybe 5 studies been done on that. And this is new science, and they're interested in doing that. So the ambient air exposures, and then he also said very clearly they've got grant money that they're putting together. They're working on the science. They're trying to prove some of the science. And he said, and I talked to him about our community and EPA's air quality thing, and several studies have been done in the community for years, multiple ones, and actually they're talking to Bobby Faust, and she's got some of the records. They're loving their interaction with Bobby. She turns on some of the studies that have taken in the past. They had high things to say about Miss Bobby helping them. And so I related to where we've had a homeowner trying to refinance a house due to a family matter, a death in the family, I think. And he was denied an FHA loan because his home inspector said, checked yes to the box. It was the week after the EPA air toxic study checked yes, that there was a health problem with a house that was up here on Elm Street. And this was after we had the air monitors at Calvert City. He said there's nothing there, but this is normal routine stuff. And I called as mayor, I called that home inspector, and he said he'd been trained and that box must be checked, and he could be liable if it weren't checked. So just misunderstanding of how you use the science. So when Dr. Smith said, well, there's no way that lawyers would use this kind of data to prove anything, and I responded that he's misunderstanding lawyers, that he's underestimating attorneys. So that's our issue. So they're wanting to take wastewater samples into this sort of thing, and then the question is, how do you receive consent for that? So if you're taking samples of human urology reports, you get human consent, whatever. So if you're taking samples of wastewater and things are coming out like that, I mean, where do you get consent for a community? And this guy's a university guy, right? And so hypothetically, theoretically, how do you do that? Is that something that this board weighs in on? Certainly. Ultimately, things like this, the decision to sample or not sample would lie with guidance from this board and the water manager. Really, it's not a mayor thing. It's not really a city council thing, except for the notorieties, and this is dusted up to. It could be a city council thing if they wanted to make it a city council thing. They can pass some stuff and do that. So really, who gives them authority to do that? Under normal circumstances, like at first above the bright line, where you have proven science, that's pretty plain vanilla stuff. So yeah, we'll do that, and that's really was the initial ask that we understood. And then when we had the meeting on Calvert City that was held in Grand Rivers, you walk in and you see this other facet. And so that really appears, and I think I used this term in our meeting, duplicitous to us, that we were asked, proven science, participate in this. Then you roll around and you see other things going on. So that's, and actually he did a pretty good job of handling those concerns.
He did.
And so I feel a lot better about that. So there's some questions I have in this book that they promised to get me answers for. So we want more information about the proven science part of it, what's going on, and talk to some people, and offered us folks we could talk to. On this other side of things, I don't know quite how we proceed with that. And I think if we hadn't been through the situation where we had public meetings, we find out about an amphibian study, and you find out about a bird kill considerations, looking into that, and then the third one is the human health study, which I applaud all the way. But they're trying to see if they can pick up metabolites from air toxics in Calvert City is like, is one that they could possibly be that. I don't know how they can do that. You don't have any air exposure that you could say, okay, this population has been exposed to that because it was really, you know, even with the EPA Region 4's air quality index, where they really had a problem was in the immediate industrial area, and the industrial sites aren't even tied in. So that we still have some, I have some questions and probably need more of them. And maybe we can get him to make another presentation to us to see what's going on. But, you know, the scientists in us that we have to comply with state regulations for the city and other experiences that we each have. I mean, we know when you do sampling, you split samples, you have control labs, you do all this kind of stuff. None of that's going to apply to this. This is research. And none of that kind of protocol that folks who are familiar with how sampling is done, how you get in the regulatory environment, it just doesn't apply. And this is not understood. So I wanted to share that with you guys. That's kind of where it's at. And I, as mayor, have gotten a letter from concerned citizens saying, hey, how could you possibly be standing in the way of this? You know, public health is, you know, this is paramount. And participation and not participation in this study, it may further the science, it may not further the science, but it doesn't really blend into really protecting the health of our community as much. Now, I'm all for learning more about science. You know, that's I guess the engineer in me. I mean, we want to further technology, we want to better understand human health and stuff, and we want to participate in that. So what's the best for the community? So we've got some more questions to ask.
So he's really saying that we do a predictive analysis of your wastewater. What we're hoping to find out is if that's indicative of some kind of special type of disease or health risk to your population in general. Through their waste, they would identify
Yes,
that. So,
but
they don't know who. It's just,
it wouldn't know a household. It
Wouldn't know the
they're-
household.
They're doing a sampling of the population,
Yeah.
and it's not just for. Not just metabolites of exposure to. This is where I have it done. Now, if someone has a particular disease or whatever, how does it come out or not? I'm not sure. The 25 communities, they were talking about virus. They're talking about viruses. And in fact, one of the stories I found it very interesting and quite, well, very fascinating about they were able to find bird flu in Louisville. So they've been doing this work, the sampling for viruses and that sort of thing in Louisville for a while. They found bird flu in one of their samples and they got to looking for it. And that's where they had a swine trailer had been washed and cleaned in one that was discharging in a POTW in the sewer, and they picked up the bird flu from a trailer load of pigs. That's pretty impressive, you know, and then it you know, say, hey, how could that possibly be bad if you're identifying that in populations? So, you know, it's all about learning more and trying to protect populations from those kinds of things. And that kind of thing 20, 25, 50 years from now becomes the norm, and you have good correlatable data. I mean, who could be against that?
well, there's a lot of, you've got a lot of variables. And particularly is how do we treat our waste? Is all those 25 systems treat your waste exactly the same
Well,
way?
these samples are treating the influent.
These are
These
raw.
samples are sampling, they're also.
Before it hits
Before
the
you get
lagoon.
the-
Yes.
Okay. All right.
So it's what's coming in right there.
Okay.
We also discussed the fact that most of the plants do not feed into our lagoons, so it would be more
I'm glad you said that.
residential that they're looking for as opposed to commercial.
So their grant funding is government provided, and they certainly are not OSHA and not EPA. And in fact, they're, you know, considering industrial exposures and looking at industrial, you know, you could sample the wastewater coming from an industrial site, and they're forbidden from doing that by the grant funding. They can't do that. They're not interested in setting up shop at a particular industrial complex and looking at that. They're not doing it. That's not their funding. That's not what they're doing. And I can't remember the word he used. I think it meant forbidden to me, but as conditions of the grant, they were not gonna do workplace exposure. But they were
Right.
not interested in sampling plant sites in this way. They're interested in the population of the community, not occupational hazards.
What are our smaller businesses? They go into that sewer system, metalworks,
Yes, yes.
all of these
Yeah.
others that are operating that way, so.
Right, there are
Yeah.
perfect.
See, you
There
know,
are occupational exposures going
and
in.
I'm a statistician, you know, and I start thinking about those variables that you're trying to control here to get a good
Mhm.
sample
Right,
and protect it or to identify the anomaly that comes up in that. Um, you're right, it's not proven.
no.
Cause it's not out there anywhere
And I-
in a statistical analysis, but I mean, you're dealing with a issue that's not scientific, and that's public perception.
Yes,
And so
Mhm.
why would we not? Well, these studies sometimes are hard to really predict where they're gonna really wind up.
Any
And
indication
you're
why
gonna-
they chose
You know,
Calvert City?
that's one of the questions I'm gonna go back with,
Yeah.
but I do have an indication of that. I mean, there's a multifaceted study based on citizens' concerns and complaints and queries to get U of L interested in that. And that's why they chose Calvert City for this second part. But you know, so you got the raw influence, and it rains about every other day here evidently anymore. So, you know, the concentration is going up and down, and we talked to him about who it was operating the equipment, you know, kind of the vein of, I was talking about earlier, is where's your controls and things like that, so who's running your mass spectrometry equipment. And they said that they don't let every graduate student run that machine because it's so expensive. And but they're you know, they are a science funded for a scientific study, and they think Calvert City might be a good place to look at
we
that.
know all the other places that they've got.
No, I mean, that's just and I ask you guys to think of some questions that I can ask him for further clarification.
I think he was when he gonna give us a list of the 25.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, and I also said I was gonna send them an email with the questions, I have not done that yet.
Are the 25 active or ongoing, or
And
those
I
are completed
remember the
studies?
25 is above the bright line, the below the bright line in my notes would be the science part of getting into the metabolites of human response. And above it was the counting of the viruses, that there's a network of 25. And so Livingston County, I think, has enrolled a couple of their waste treatment programs in that. Another question I have, are they looking at below the bright line? Are they doing that with those samples from these Livingston County sites or not? I don't know. So there's a lot of questions. And like I said, it was a very good conversation, and I think it explained to me, you know, one of the things I needed to do is to establish some trust level in what's going on. And I told him that. I wasn't shy about that.
Yeah.
Hopefully I wasn't rude about it.
Yeah.
And I tried not to be,
Yeah.
but you know, the way it's done is like, this is, you know, the 25, and then all the conversations in that meeting and in the press have all been below the bright line, thinking that we're going to find the response of air toxics. And, you know, we've got, I believe we still have some people soliciting for class action lawsuits on members of our industrial community. That's, I don't care about that. That's not the business of city government. And I don't have any allegiance to any particular firm out there. And, you know, revenue be damned. We're not going to put up with people putting our citizens at risk. We're just not. It's just silly to suggest such a thing. But you do have public perception, and that with I started to say the story, but with the information of the encounter between the home inspector for an FHA loan, which was denied. Actually, that loan was not secure, and that was in the week after the EPA Region 4 air quality study that was released, and they went a different route. He found him another loan, cost him a little bit more interest. But the FHA loan didn't happen because of that. But, you know, so the public perception, when we get over to the perception side, then it's impacting citizens, right? And so,
Yeah.
yeah. So, you know, what's the best thing for the city to do here? And, I don't think that's really gonna be just my, it can't be, it's not gonna be my decision. I guess ultimately it could be, but I'm gonna certainly wanna know what other folks think on this. So this, have I forgotten anything, Dan, or
No, I don't
Bobby?
think so.
Something I need to add? But I do have to admit, I went into it and told him, I said, there's a trust issue now.
Yep.
And when he got done talking, I felt a lot better about what's going on and understood the broader landscape. So they asked us to do this clearly defined thing. And then went to a meeting that was focusing only on the research side, below the line, if you will. And so that explains some of that difference. So a lot of that, and I think I characterized as we've just got off on the wrong foot.
Yeah.
And I think that's true. I think we did get off on the wrong foot.
And they admitted that too, so.
Yeah, and so they're committed to doing these studies.
Mhm.
And it's the, you know, the participating, I guess people can withdraw. I don't know what they signed or didn't sign. If they don't like the way it tasted or whatever, they could, stop sampling. I don't
Yeah.
have any commitment. So, you know, sampling for the above the line 25, it doesn't seem that big a deal. But you know, how's the below line scheduled? So why did they pick Calvert? I think I know why. I think I know why. But there's so many things statistically and controlled,
Yeah.
what are gonna be the thing.
Mhm.
And it was presented to and Bruce was at that meeting, right? Yeah, Bruce and Rob was.
Yeah.
You know, it was presented to, they certainly were not regarding it as anything that was research or unproven. That discussion at that meeting, the people who attended the meeting, they certainly did not were not welcoming. So the expectations of the data exceeded what was presented by the man conducting the study. The expectations of the other people who attended the meeting was something different. And I'm not sure they walked away with the same understanding that I currently have.
And it's that cause and effect step that makes me cautious. I had one time when I was working, I had one guy, I was so falls. I had one guy come up and said, I'm gonna pay something, why don't you tell so and so? I said, then don't tell me.
Right.
You're gonna tell me and give me information, but you want me to agree up front before you tell me that I'm not gonna tell my boss. I said, then don't tell him. Cause if I hear something he needs to hear, I'm gonna tell him. And so you worry about if it's information, it's out there. And if you have the information, you're responsible for it. So.
So there's more to come on that.
Yeah, that's when you get
There's
liable.
more to be considered.
One question or request, I mean, been on the industry and the government side of things, not on the academic side necessarily, but every study that I've ever seen perform, you have a work plan. So I know you've asked a lot of questions about details, what they plan to do, their quality controls, things like that. One thing that I think you would probably want to have, and you probably already asked them, is communication. Are they gonna give you updates monthly? Are they gonna let you know if they, you know, where things are going? Have they got some good results or troubling results, or maybe they're not getting anything below the bright line, as you say? Maybe it, you know, it works for viruses and things like that, but maybe this type of study is not well suited to the HAPs and the impacts on the bodies. Calvert City gets a huge influence of people during the workday. And some of those folks, it sounds like they're on storm sewers and other sewers that don't go to us, but when they hit the restaurants and other businesses and things like that. So, I mean, it's just a variable that they'll have to take into account, is that it's not limited to just the population of the city.
But you have groundwater too, don't we have somebody cleans tanks, chemical tanks? Where's that go?
Yeah.
Would it be in before it hits?
When they clean them tanks at the.
That's what I'm talking about.
Some of
You
it
gotta
would be there.
control those
For sure.
variables. And if you don't have controlled, variables, then your stats can be all over the place. And all that you can even say at best is this indicates this. You can't make that jump to cause and effect. Not, I mean, not letting you have to, that's like medical science, man. You have to be at a P value of 1,000.
Right.
Control your P value and your curve. And, sometimes, just, I don't know, we're just. No, thank you, right, it's a trust issue. It's just too much surveys,
Well, we did.
show things because that's what they wanted them to show.
We did get far enough on the trust issue, at least I'm willing to talk to him further. So that was pretty major step.
Well, there you go, yeah, you can run him off.
Well, and that's kind
They didn't run him.
of language, but, it made a lot more sense after we had the initial. So a lot of that went by, and I still have all these questions. I mean, are you looking for the actual materials? You tank wagon, we also have a tank car cleaning. We had tank wagon cleaning. It was processed, meter POTW specs, and so you have actual constituents of their trace. And we've got the data, we pay a third party to manage it for us. That would be the actual contamination, not what happens after it's processed through. And, the restaurants and different things and the swell of the pot. So what are the variables that you're
The
considering?
truck stops.
Yeah.
You got the truck stop.
The RV.
These
dumps.
people are coming, I mean, that's where, that's where you get, if you're gonna really do this sampling, I mean, you've got to have these identical characteristics nailed down from one community to the next, because that's where your outliers are
Yeah,
at,
he said,
He said, quote, there might have been there's maybe 5 published studies on any of this stuff so far. So he said, I keep going back to that word because it didn't mean a lot to me. There's a bright line drawn between the 25 virus and above the line, and this is all scientific development, seeing they're going to get any kind of response. And, I don't know how you would, if you saw something pick up, how you dare, wrong word, how could you possibly go back and try to correlate it to anything, because there's so many variables at the top end.
yeah.
So anyway, that's where we stand. That's the report. So I think it's overall good news, a major step in the understanding and getting back on the right foot. And then the science is not scary at all. It's how it's going to be used and how it's going to be perceived. And so it's already, and I will, and I shared the story on the mortgage with him.
Mhm.
And then, said, you had a group of people listening to your presentation that have a very opinionated idea of how they're going to use this information, or how they intend to use this information.
Mhm.
And so emotionally talking about science is not actually good science.
Mhm.
There's a difference.
Mhm.
So we did talk about those things. And so, the release of that information, how it's interpreted in
Is he trying to further an established study?
yeah, he's trying to.
So he's taking a study and he's trying to further that. I mean,
So they've been, I think it's a good question is, what are the other areas they've studied? Somebody else, I think maybe Bruce had asked that.
Well, I was gonna ask, we're talking about the sewage and the wastewater. They also, at the meeting in Green Rivers, they also talked about the bird studies and reptile studies, and there were more parts to this thing.
It was bird, reptile, and then there was 4 prongs. The wastewater epidemiology was one. They talked about, there had been, observations and complaints of birds dying. And that's the first I'd heard of any of that. And then they were wanting to study amphibians and talked about the frogs and amphibians being a lead indicator, not unlike the canaries in the coal mine sort of thing. And that's, Murray State does that kind of thing. Probably does some of the best around. I've heard their name been involved in that several times as far as leading institutions in that thing. So it's something that's offered locally that helps you develop a partnership with Murray, which is desirable from the institutions, and Murray does a good job of that. And I really at the meeting that we attended, I didn't really hear any observations that we've been having multiple appendages on amphibians running around or whatever, but Murray was going to do the study nonetheless. So, and so the wastewater epidemiology, human health study, and they were going to get volunteer subjects to come in and do the human health study. So that, amphibians, and the looking into ornithology, looking into the bird, the idea that the bird population has diminished somewhat. And I think it probably has diminished overall. It's not unlike the pollinator problems, I think. And so those are the 4 prongs of the study. And oh, by the way, we lumped in. So we got an ask to participate in the 25, and we walked into a meeting that we're talking about the below the bright line study, how it might be insightful into what might be going on around here. So and took a fair amount of indictment personally for why weren't we already involved, and said green light to that. And we explained to them why. But and I think they understood it. So there's where we're at. Don't want to belabor it. So if you think of any other questions you'd like to answer, please get them to me. And so YCC control of incoming exposures, communication protocol, you know, we do this, what's going to be the communication protocol? How are we going to be kept apprised of study progress? Control variables going to be developed in what way, and what other studies have been done using this by this institution? Where else have they done this? So those are the questions that I've gotten here. So if you have something to add to it, please let me know.
Think you would want to know the results, and if you can do this, ask for the results and conclusions before the study is published. That'd just be part of the communication.
He
And
said-
how long?
Yeah, he said they had some grant funding. Did he tell you who was the grantor?
Well, that was a question that we had with him was did he have the grant? And Gene pushed him till he finally said he had one for about $20,000, and they were looking to get one approved for in excess of that,
About 300.
300 or 400. Yeah.
Yeah. So
So it'd be, just grantor. If they put out a grant, they've got an issue they want to address. That's why grant exists.
I think they were talking, the grantor would be NIH type. Answer to that. They may.
I don't believe I wrote that down. Did you run it?
NIH funding,
Administration.
and they've got one from,
Yeah, you mean that they've rescinded.
we're looking at 300, my note says 300,000 from an NIH study is what they're seeking. And there's a intermediate from a CIEHS, that's the 20. And that's an outfall of the National Science Foundation. So I think that's a great question. There's more detail on the grants and applications. Great detail.
Well, because, the grantors, they're writing the grant. Make the request for proposal is what the grantor is looking for, so you write your grant to meet that.
Mhm.
And so it's always interesting to know what the grantor's really looking for.
That's really the name of the
What
game.
is their
That is the
motivation?
name of the game. It
It is,
Yeah.
yes.
All right.
Yeah, okay. All right,
By the way, thanks for the update on.
Yes.
Well,
Thank
I
you.
think it's important, and that's kind of where, that's where this advisory board is going. Needs to live and understand the broader context of what we're doing here.
all right, any further questions from any of you guys?
We just had in our last meeting that we were looking at some revenue generators
Mhm.
and ways that, so we made any progress on any. of
I got a little list right here that we kind of made up. You talking about, like things like replacing sewer caps.
Right.
Yeah, stuff like
Right.
that. Yeah, we, I got some stuff made up, like maybe like if we gotta replace a sewer cap, it's like $25. Other utilities do this kind of stuff. They
Mhm.
charge for,
Mhm.
we gotta go put one on. If we gotta replace a meter,
Mhm.
stuff. So I've got like, if we get out to replace a meter lid, it's gonna be like $60. I mean, cause we have metal lids and we use now, and, they ain't cheap. So, but you know, $60 for that, and if we have to go, reread a meter for somebody that requests it, it's like a $5 charge. And like if we gotta reinstall a meter that someone needs reinstalled, we took out, put back in, it's like $100. And, like, like making
No, these charges are not in place now.
no, these are just recommendations that
When you
we.
say install
Now,
another
other
meter,
places have this.
do you mean it?
We'll keep going.
Okay.
We'll circle back.
Okay, and then it's like, making a tampering fee, which doesn't include like damage to the meter or setting, like $100, like if they cut a lock or something like that, that's other than actual damage to it. $100, you know, if they have damage to the meter itself and the setting, cause it could escalate on the actual fixing of that. Like sewer calls, let's say if it's a false alarm on the customer side and they didn't inspect it before they called us, like $100 call. And, $50 for business hours, $100 for after hours. And like water turnoffs during business hours, $40, water turnoffs after hours, $100. Just little things like that. That's all I've got so far. But, and like I said, these are others utilities actually do all.
So, you know, we can be a nice friendly water system and you absorb, I mean, we have employees. We're gonna be paying employees their normal business hours, whether they're playing tiddlywinks or not. Well, I guarantee you, they're not playing tiddlywinks,
Right.
certainly not all day.
No.
So
Well,
we're trying to, we're trying to conserve our labor. And secondly, it's like, you know, when we're talking about cost of operating the system and we're looking at raising our water rates. So when you have a person who's maintaining their stuff, they've got their water turned on, they're using water day in, day out. We're only doing routine maintenance to them.
Oh, I didn't say
And
that.
others are,
I had other things.
yeah, and we've offered, service to people because we can. Because we do, and so we have people who are needing service and we're having to staff service and, you know, trucks, gasoline, all that stuff that goes into the cost of a production of 1,000 gallons of water. So the ones who are using those extra things, if they're paying for them, then maybe they won't request them, or, you know, it's like free water. People who are using a commodity, if you don't have them paying for it, then that's going to create problems of unintended certain circumstances. So we've got to go down there. None of these things that we're talking about, we charge for, but we currently do. One of the practices that we do is we allow you to make a phone call and say, I'm going to go, what's the term for shutting off a meter? Inactive.
Yeah, inactive.
No, I'm gonna go inactive. And you know, the most common one is a sprinkler. I'm gonna go inactive. I'm not gonna use it, I don't know, mid-October to whatever. They're not even paying a minimum bill at all. Even though we are providing, if something goes wrong with that meter or the water main leak, it's kind of like the demand charge. You know, when you look at the utility rates for power companies or the demand charge on three-phase power. So what's your highest power consumption in the last depends on how they do the rate schedule. Could be the last 2 months, could be the last 3 months. And I'm providing electrical infrastructure to you to support your usage. So you're paying a fee for that. So, you know, what are we doing on those meters? So if you want to say, okay, I'm gonna have you come out and take the meter out and I'll pay zero charge, or I will pay some kind of minimum charge for the, you know, having the demand meter. It's dormant. The Rainbird's not going to kick on in December, January, February, or March, but that infrastructure is still there. There could be a problem. So what's the reasonable price that's worth? And then you weigh that with pulling the meter out and placing the meter in. So what are you trying to encourage? What are you trying to discourage? And we can go out and we could turn a knob on it and place a lock on it. And then you got to come out and take the lock off. So you just get in and say, hey, well, just go inactive. We won't send you a charge or whatever. So there's some decisions to make on protocol here and the perception of our customers on whether you're being nickel and dime. And the only thing is there, when we're looking at recommendations for pretty significant water rate increases, you need to be looking at some of the stuff you do as niceties in folks who need those services on a routine basis. Now, here's the issue. With inactive, we don't have the data set to really say how many inactive, and this is make up a unit of measure. How many inactive months do we have? So how many people call in and how many bills go out inactive for people doing these things? I don't have a clue. The thing is, we never really, it's just by word of mouth. I think we've never really said that's our policy. We'll do inactive. It's just people who learn it and they take advantage of minimizing their cost, which would be great. So we don't really know how changing some of these policies might impact workload, lighten it, to prevent us from hiring extra personnel, to prevent us from incurring extra costs, versus the increase in revenue that would be the offset some of that stuff. So it's really hard to get the data, and it's going to be one of these things. Once you make some policy differences and changes, we're just going to see how it hits. What's the impact, whatever. And first off, it's a change. I'm no longer getting something free on these two. And so we run into things. People don't pay their bill. The city doesn't have a checklist. I think the ladies up front do a good job of saying, hey, go pick up that trash receptacle or go cut off that water. But it's not a clean process sometimes. And so, if we're inactive on a meter and somebody's out there doing a repair for a homeowner, they just go turn the water back on and they consume a few hundred gallons doing mortar work, repinning them. You just make up any scenario you want to, and then they close the thing. The next person that comes down to get the water turned back on after it's supposed to be inactive, they owe a water bill. That meter was closed at this reading.
Yeah.
And sometimes we don't have that last reading.
Sometimes not.
So they just disappear. You got your last reading, but you don't have the last and final to realize they're gone. And you don't know who's got what. So that's you got administrative clarity, but we do need to really consider this list, and we've got more data to get. We got some of the data, but I think Carrie's got some of the data. So I don't know how to proceed here. What do y'all, Dan?
I think we need to have answers to those questions for this study so that we've got some kind of projected figure out there that we can include in that. And of course, they are paying $5 a month on their meter. We've done that, so everybody still pays that. Even they're gonna pay it even after the meters have actually been paid for.
In my case, I've got a sprinkler and I turn it off in October so the lines in the yard won't freeze and bust.
That's right.
And I don't pay anything until I have to call them in June, July and
Yeah.
say I need my meter turned back on. And they come out and turn it on. Then I start paying the water bill.
So
So, I mean, to me, I would be, there's a meter in the ground. It's my convenience to have it turned off. So, I mean, if it's a $5 fee to turn it off and $5 fee to turn it back on, that's,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, because you gotta think, you still got that water pushing to it.
Right.
You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah.
Something can happen to that service line
But, yeah.
going towards that meter,
right.
and that's when the cost would come in.
You're still maintaining.
It's still
the
maintaining
system.
service to that
Yeah.
meter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we need to know, are we talking about 50 of those, 100 or 200? I mean, we need to.
that's gonna be a pretty fuzzy number. It's gonna be one. A lot. Here's the issue: is my engineer Gray Banner figured it out. People end up in inactive status for a lot of different reasons. So we don't have any data that really parse out why they're inactive. So if you change this policy, it's just gonna be a subset, so you don't really know how big that group's gonna be. So we need to look at it as hard as we can,
Yeah.
but I don't think we're gonna have, I think the level of information we're gonna have, I would want more, and I'm sure you're gonna want more than what we're gonna, but we'll get everything.
Maybe other ways to address it, such as a minimum charge per using certain other.
Well, we have a minimum
We have-
bill.
we do.
There is minimum bill.
There's a minimum bill. for-
2,000
So
gallons.
that's why somebody would go on the suspension status is to.
Because if you're
So-
elected, we're not paying the minimum.
Right.
Right, you're not paying the minimum, so.
On that meter.
Why you would go.
Here's another thing that we do. I should keep my mouth shut, I guess, but I'm not. For instance, we have sprinklers as strong chemical, and there's no meters on those sprinklers. So they're just tied in.
Do your biggest meter, right?
No, they're tied in directly to the water main.
Sprinkler systems are not tied.
So it's not meter?
No, sir.
Oh, okay.
So I've got pressure to what they call a leveling valve, and we never use water in the sprinklers. And there's not a meter in that line. It'd have to be huge, and that's why. You got a 6-inch fire water main and you have it for emergency services, so how many of those have we got around the community, and what's the proper fee for those on an annual basis?
Yeah.
But
That's
if
just
one of
another
those,
example.
if one of those leaks,
Right.
sprinkler system leaks somewhere,
Mhm.
there's no charge for that.
Or they actually discharge.
Yeah, or discharge, yeah.
But that's considered, I mean, we got fire hydrants throughout this public safety. And, there's, I'll say it, we're in a meeting, we're in an open meeting. We maintain, what is the responsibilities of utilities when we are recipients of grants like this? We're providing loop service and we're putting in, fire plugs. Calvert City Fire Department, we transfer money from Calvert City Fire Department's budget to Calvert City Utilities budget for maintaining the meters in the city. But we don't charge other fire districts for maintaining meters in their districts. It's always, the firefighters always want to cry about that when they look at the budget. I'm like, forget that, but so there's all kinds of things like that, where our water's being used, and
I got a question. I've never really asked this.
but I don't have an answer. But go ahead and ask it.
So we don't charge for, like, if say someone puts in a fire service for their plant,
I have to fully go back and look.
because apparently everybody else does.
Okay.
They charge it by the month.
We'll take a look.
Like the one at
I don't think
Cracker
we
Barrel's
do.
got one,
Mhm.
Marshall Yards has got one now,
Right.
and like y'all got one.
I'm probably, there may be other, well, there's commercial buildings throughout that have it like I've got.
Oh, yeah, Westlake's got one too, down here by PVC.
So we need to take a look at that.
Everywhere,
So there's a
yeah.
lot of policies that we need to catch up on that would be.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's not that we're being nickel and dime or chintzy, it's just like.
No, but that, I mean. the
When we're
ordinance-
talking about controlling expenses that are in the households,
That's right.
we need to make sure that we do the kinds of things that need to be done.
And while we want to be industry friendly, it's
Mhm.
still, they're 75% of our users.
Yeah,
So if they're doing
Right.
75% of that, then those decisions will have a much larger impact
By
than
and
the
large,
25%.
by and large, chemical plants have their own fire water systems
Mm.
throughout. They've got big NFPA tanks and maintain them and checklists and that there's just, you get people, I'm a much smaller plant. We got only two areas that are sprinkled. You get things and I don't know where that goes, but some of these commercial buildings, they may have something sprinkled in them.
Mhm.
Probably Brentag, the old Brentag buildings or something else now. Those kinds of things have sprinklers installed, Marshall Yards, when hotels come along, the hotels all have sprinklers in them. new
Yeah.
ones.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know, we need to take a look at the policies for.
Yeah, some of these smaller little companies, like Metalworks got a sprinkler system.
But that, if we go to changing our fee schedule for services, it's gotta be a recommendation by this bunch and it'll have to be approved by the council.
Mhm.
But council, yeah.
So that's kind of where we're going. And again, this is looking out for the cost per thousand and impact on the vast majority of our 1,600 meters.
yeah, 16, 15 or something.
Mhm.
Keep those rates as low as possible. So some of these other areas that is funded, when we compute, when we do the rural water district comes in and competes our cost per thousand,
Mhm.
all these costs go in there and they're not paid for. So they go into the cost per thousand.
That's right.
Okay, any other questions? Michael, you
No.
good? Bruce, you good? All right. Do I hear motions adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second
Second.
that.
Come on now.
Steve's gonna.
Any dissent? Any
No,
dissent?
I'm not gonna do it.
All in
I
favor,
didn't
say
even
aye.
make a Motion in that, so there you go.
Thank you, Ashley.
See ya.
You're welcome.
She was sleeping.
I just
She had to
checking to
answer
see if
for-
you was there.
She had to answer for she wasn't sleeping.
I'm here.
She's like, oh, what?
She's running around the house with the Bluetooth earbuds on probably.
Got Candy Crush on her phone.
Yeah.